Hey there, toy collector friends and Transformers fans alike. Welcome back to my channel. I'm the time traveling toy collector, and this is a review of another Titan class figure. This is the Transformers Siege War for Cybertron trilogy version of the epic Omega Supreme. So I'm just kicking off really with a view of the box art. The box art is splendid, as we've come to expect, of course, from Transformers packaging throughout time, but also particularly currently the War for Cybertron range, which is the current leading range of Transformers figures, and the box art here is splendid. I'm doing handheld because, as many of you who are Transformers collectors or interested in collecting Transformers toys will be aware, Titan class figures are hefty. And so fitting them into a normal display or normal review stations is tricky. So consequently I'm doing this in my sort of reserved space for Titan reviews, but I'm going to zoom in a bit and take you a little bit around the box art. So here we have a real beautiful piece of artwork demonstrating the Titan Omega Supreme taking on an army really of Decepticons. From what we can see here, they're really letting him have it. Looks like it's ye olde Cybertron that they're on. We can see some of the swoops coming in their Cybertronian mode. So yeah, here is Omega Supreme with his claw hand with a subtle little cannon on the inside, and his cannon arm taking on the Decepticon army. Now, what I really like about this, and apologies because I don't want to sort of drone on, but what I really like about this and what gets me really excited is Generation 1 Omega Supreme was a figure I never had. I've only ever seen him at conventions where people are trying to sell him for exorbitant amounts of money, and with his little motorized legs that make him move so ridiculously slowly, it's unreal. But this is very much not that. This is very much, I appreciate he's non-mechanized, but this is everything I imagine. I would say, for me, this is everything in my imagination G1 Omega Supreme could do and looked like. Except it's been realised by those guys who probably grew up, and I say guys in an all-encompassing term, let's say folk, those folk who grew up with G1 Omega Supreme, or like me, didn't grow up with a G1 Omega Supreme, and went, you know what, we can do this better, we can make this everything it should have been. So we'll just wrap up looking at this incredible box art. Here's a glimpse at the top, and here we have the Autobots lined up ready for battle as part of the War for Cybertron range. So they're there looking fabulous. On the side of the box we can see some more of the Transformers. There's the Ark blasting off. Oh, spoilers. Leaving Cybertron behind. Poor Cybertron. So let's have a look at the back of the packaging, where we will have obligatory product shots. So here is the man of the moment, Omega Supreme, far more posable than his G1 counterpart ever was. And I'm focusing on G1 because I know there were other iterations of Omega Supreme that were far more colourful, perhaps far more with a lot of additional articulation, etc. But this, I think, is closest, subsequent to the first one, of our Generation 1 counterpart. There is the Autobot Countdown, who comes along with Omega Supreme, and here are his various modes. There's his tank, there's his defense base complete with gigantic rocket, and we'll be looking at just how gigantic his rocket is shortly, if I'm allowed to say that. We can also see that they're showing off some of the sort of compartments, and I'm a sucker for compartments, I don't mind telling you. I love, and I've always loved, toys that have hidden play features. So anytime there's an alcove or a secret compartment or a subtle little door or a subtle, anything like that, I'm there for that. I really love that. I also really love the touch on where we have the turret section here on the tank, and if we go back to the head sculpt here, there's a gun on the back of Omega Supreme's head, which is a lovely, beautiful nod to the Generation 1 toy. Of course, then that became the turret. That's not quite the case with this version, as we'll see shortly. But yeah, fantastic box. The box itself does the work I think the Generation 1 boxes did. It really excites me to want to get into this figure. So without any further ado, that's exactly what we're going to do. And here he is. Now again, apologies for any shaky camera work. I'm having to go handheld for this, particularly in his robot mode, but then also when we get to the battle base mode, so that I can go in close and give you some really good aerial shots. So again, wanting to maintain the quality, you can see that I'm having to do him in some sweeping panoramic views. But oh my goodness me, let's get in close for this figure. What a wonderful sculpt. You can see here already the face sculpt is absolutely fantastic. He does have, as you might expect with these modern toys, pretty good head rotation. You can go 360. There's also very limited vertical movement. There is light piping, so you can see his eyes illuminate when the light strikes the back, and as I mentioned before, there's the rear head cannon that is directly representative of his Generation 1 variation. We also, if we look at the top of his body and his rather broad shoulders, you can see a lot of mechanical detailing, even the paneling on the shoulder covers. There's so much detailing here, it really is brilliant. And of course we have these two front-facing guns here. We have the wings behind, which will of course become, spoiler alert, the tracks. But again, they have a lot of detailing in them there. You can see all the individual elements of detail that have been included, which I think is fantastic. There's stuff they just didn't need to do, but they have done. So let's move down the body so we can really get a close look, and I'll come in again a little bit closer here. So we have some lovely transparent plastic here, which shows off some of the inner mechanisms of Omega Supreme. We have a jolly large Autobot crest there, and again you can see that's his arm cannon getting in the way, but while we're there, let's look at it. The detailing down that arm cannon is quite spectacular. We can attach some of the blast effects to the end of the cannon. I probably won't do that in this review. You can, if you want to watch people sticking on the blast effects, there are a number of reviewers who will do that for you. I want to focus on the main figure. Let's come over to the other arm. Again, you can see hydraulics that are built into the figure really beautifully. You can see the sculpt all the way down the arm there into the translucent fingers, and again the fingers are infinitely of the claw are wonderfully articulate. You can have them tight, you can open them wider, as you can see here. So you can, and again you can attach blast effects into this section here, which is handy for robot mode play or posing, and also handy for when he's in rocket mode, but more on that in the fullness of time. I do love the colorization here. It really does help pop the character. We can see around the side here of his torso some lovely silver detailing. I mean, again, the attention to panel work here really excellent, and it's repeated on the other side, so you can really see just how much detail that's been put into the production of this figure. I think it's incredible. We move down to his leg section. I can confirm that he has waist rotation. You can see that he's actually currently posed with his waist rotated slightly. Same for hips, and also same for thighs. There's a bit of a thigh rotation there too. Moving down the legs, these are stonkingly powerful legs, and again we have an awful lot of detailing in the front sections down to the feet. Even on the sections on the inside leg, there's an awful lot of work done there to give this guy as much character as they could muster. And I think it's fair to say they've done a spectacular job. I mean, Omega Supreme, this guy is a giant. He's not the biggest of the Titans now, but a Titan he certainly is, in detail, in playability, and in posability. I, for one, am thrilled that I invested in getting one of these. Again, they're now no longer particularly cheap, but you can get them from some online stores. In the UK, that's, for example, In Demand Toys is a good place to try. There's always your friendly neighborhood eBay, if that's your thing. But yeah, Omega Supreme in hand with me, and I couldn't be more thrilled. As I say, I wouldn't say that I ached to have a Generation 1 version, but when he was introduced into the comic book range, when I caught a glimpse of him on my included Triptychon catalogue of the Americanized range figures, because Omega Supreme, for whatever reason, never made it to the UK as a figure you could purchase through traditional means, shall we say. And I really think that we missed out on a fantastic G1 figure. But you know, this version is incredible. I'm just going to spin him around so you can have sight of the rest of the guy. You can see that the level of detailing continues throughout, all along the wing section there. There are his backpack. It's not much of a backpack, to be fair, but his backpack boosters, just to give him a bit of additional flight. And again, here we have more detailing in the legs. There's literally no aspect of him that doesn't have a good level of detail that pulls out his Autobot goodliness, which I don't think is necessarily an appropriate technical expression to use to describe an Autobot. But nevertheless, there we are. And he's not a lightweight piece. This is a very, very heavy piece. And considering the component parts that he will split into, that's not much of a surprise. So I'm going to pause now temporarily whilst you admire his robotic physique, and then transform him into his base mode and constituent parts, and continue this conversation there. I'll see you in mere seconds. So that was a quick transformation, and actually I do have to say the transformation isn't as challenging as it may appear to be. So this is the pinnacle of the rocket. I'm now going to pan down, as you can see, which takes us into the defense base with the track. There is Autobot Countdown, who comes with this set there, and over to the side here we have the armoured tank element, and I'll explain why he's there in a second. First of all, let's have a little look at Countdown. Countdown is a very cute little Autobot with his wonky head. He has ball joint articulation and can transform himself, which we'll do in a second, into some sort of communications vehicle. Very cute little guy. Very, very nice addition to the set, something they didn't need to do but they did. And again, by placing him on the tracks there, we get a real sense of scale. So coming down to Countdown's level, this is the Omega Supreme defense base. You can see there are struts holding up the track. The detailing is consistent as it was before in the video, as you saw when we saw other aspects of him. There's the main hangar bay of the defense base, and here we have the rocket. I'm going to look at each of these component parts separately. So in the first instance, I'm going to take the rocket out, and I'm going to pop that over the other side so that we have clearance to look at the base itself. Now, I'm not going to do this for the purposes of the video, but these tracks can be arranged in a variety of ways to also enable them to connect to other base modes of other Transformers releases. I'm not doing that, so you can take my word for it, or you can check out some other reviewers who have done that for you, so you can see what that looks like. So let's come in close on the tracks themselves, and you can see that there are some ports specially incorporated for the blast effects, and what I think is particularly beautiful is that there is scarring, there's battle scarring, there's carbon scarring around those holes, but there's also some really lovely silver inlaid detailing. A theme for this review really is the level of quality embedded detailing that you didn't necessarily need to have in here, but it's there nevertheless. So these are the tracks that rotate around the entirety of the base. As you can see, we'll just do a little aerial rotation there. Apologies if that made you a bit airsick. Down here we have a couple of little ramps that take you to the next level. Again, they do have the option to attach, as you can see from the bottom end there, they could attach to bases. I'm not convinced that you get many bases that would fit into that sort of ball pen area there, but it's an option if you wanted to exploit it. Then we have this section, which is the hangar. Again, it's the interior portion, and again, beautifully detailed, all molded plastic. There's no particular decals in there, but it's very spacious, and I'll use Countdown again as my handy comparative model, so he can pop in there, and there's plenty of space for him to work. And again, we can see multiple missile batteries there, and a couple of mega missile batteries here to really start taking out the Decepticons if they launch an assault. Beautiful defense base. I mean, there's you can see at the back there, they've even got plumbing. You know, plumbing is very important, often overlooked by the Transformers, but yeah, plumbing is in place at this defense base. I'm going to come around the side. As I say, you know, I've mentioned that I like when I've got a variety of so let me again look at the detailing there. I'm going to finish that sentence, don't worry, but the detailing kind of trumped me. There's lots of nooks and crannies. I feel a little bit like we're looking at a Star Wars Star Destroyer close up, because there's so much detail all the way down here. We can see, just get my pointery pen there, we can see hatches concealed here. We can see all of the mechanics here. Again, a bit more plumbing. Lots of work for the Cybertronian plumbers if you're using Metroplex as your defense base. There's inlaid port thrusts. There's so much going on here. There's again silver detailing here. I mean, there's no way you look on this figure where there isn't a high level of detail. And I'm just coming over here to show you, and I'll just grab poor old Countdown. He's constantly being exploited by me. But there's a little area there, could be used as a cell enclosure, could be used as anything really, but it can carry some of these little micro figures, and it secretes away. You can have it concealed, or you can have it open. I've used this myself as a holding bay for the tank section, which I'm just reinserting there, so the tank can be on standby behind that, like a sort of pseudo blast door. Not that you need an exterior blast door, sorry, because I need blast the camera. So coming back to the overall picture of the thing, this takes up a lot of space, and in and of itself, it's a beautiful display piece. So an excellent addition to anyone's collection, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think it's really, really exquisite. You know, I can't find anything about this to go, yeah, but as a standalone display piece, it's exquisite. It really is. So next up, I'm going to come to the rocket. I was going to come to the tank, but I'm going to come to the rocket. So this is the rocket. I mean, look at the length of this. Look at this. This is incredible. This is incredible. And again, as I mentioned before, you can add blast effects there for added play value. But again, there's scoring on the length of the rocket. There's a lot of detailing, a lot of exceptional panel working. I mean, it really is incredible. And what I've already done here, just to save us a bit of time and me a bit of faff, if I'm honest, is I've opened up this section here because, oh, surprise, surprise, there's a door here, there's a unit here, in which you can pop, and I hope you can see this, you can pop Countdown, and he fits perfectly. And I think the level of detailing there is really exceptional. Now, you've noticed, because you couldn't fail to notice, that this panel just came off. Now, that's not fatal, because it's a very little, it's a small sort of friction joint that holds it on there, which I will address momentarily. And this is one of the few, I have sort of two gripes. This is gripe number one. The hinge for this, the friction hinge for this is here, and I see if you can see it. The lip of the rocket, when it's transformed, comes slightly over. Can't really see it, I'm sorry, but comes slightly over here, which means when you're trying to open up this compartment, and it is again a very detailed compartment. If you have a little view inside there, there's a control screen, there's a whole load of controls there that you can operate navigation. So this isn't just a bomb, this is actually a transporter rocket that will take our Transformers to new adventures, who knows where, you know, wherever they want to go. Great. However, not so great if the door keeps falling off. It doesn't keep falling off as a rule when it's being displayed, but when you're opening it to show off this compartment, unfortunately that does happen. Purely because you have to sort of maneuver it around this lip, and it doesn't like it. As I say, it's not a fatality, it's a friction joint, so it just snaps back on and there's no harm done. Similarly, you could close this much like a barn door, and we could have Countdown peering out the window and having a look. And you can see here something that I quite like, is that then that becomes, when we've blasted off, that becomes the cockpit area, and you can see the detailing there around the various windows, because that then is the bridge of the rocket ship, albeit without that great big gap. So again, another lovely attention to detail that I think it would be really easy to miss, and I for one am very grateful that they've included that in this rather spectacular and epically sized rocket. So I'm going to park the rocket again. Oh, well, actually I'll put it in there because that's where it belongs, so that's fine. And you go, pop. Oh, and I'll just point out again, there is some scoring. You can see, just get back into focus, that there is some scoring again with some blast points on the infrastructure of the rocket. So there's a couple of instances where you can see those charred areas that will allow you to have added play value by inserting some of those quite fun and quite excellent blast effects that do come with the figure. So quibble one, as I've said, was the door situation, and there it is in context with the whole base. I'm going to put out slightly so you can see it in its entirety. Pretty impressive. The second quibble is kind of a by default quibble. So let's take a look at the tank. The tank itself is impressive. Okay, I have no, well, maybe I have 2.5 quibbles, but the tank itself is pretty impressive. You've got adjustable side cannons here that raise up and raise down. You have, I'm going to pop him down there for a second, so we'll put them down for a second. You have this big cannon here on the turret that comes up and down. Mini quibble one, the turret itself doesn't rotate because it's associated with spoiler, it's associated with Omega Supreme's actual head, so the whole assembly therefore has not been designed with additional rotation, which I think is a shame, because that would have made it a really cool play feature. There is, however, a section here which opens up, complete with very, very detailed treads to allow the mini-cons to get on board. And we also have, you can see a little squared off area there. If we transform, and I will later, if we transform Countdown into his radar communications truck, he can sit in there very comfortably and be locked away. Just get these out of the way so they will close and be locked away, and it can be sealed there. Again, I love little secret compartments. I live for those kind of things. The detailing here, again, stupendous. You can see the inlaid silver and chrome. You can see the tracks are very well designed. It has a set of rollers. The tracks themselves are not real, shocker. It has the rollers, which are great. They work, they do what they have to do. And there's the reverse of the tank, and the rear gun is concealed there. Now, this is my major gripe about the whole thing, really. The rollers are so designed that they will, admittedly, fit on the track. However, from a point of view of suspension of disbelief, the treads do not fit on the track. So there is literally no way that this tank will meaningfully use this roadway to maneuver. And I know quite a lot of reviewers were put out by this, and I was a bit put out by this as well, because I think, well, actually, if you're going to design it so it's at least in scale with its constituent parts. For goodness sake, what's wrong with you? And then I let my play mind, rather than my display mind, have a little think about this dilemma. Again, I love the detail on this. You know, you can't fault the detailing and the effort on this, which is why I thought I'll give this some additional consideration, because you know what, I don't want to be unfair to this figure, because this is, as you can see, this is a detailed, winning figure. You know, this is an absolute superb piece of playness. You know, so it seemed a shame that something so obvious could be such a problem. And then I realised that the fatal mistake I was making was I was treating this in the same way I was treating the Generation 1 in my head, the Generation 1 Omega Supreme, which required the tank to be on the treads so that it would follow it round with its mechanisation. But we've moved on from that. We've moved on from that era of play, and actually this tank isn't confined to the treads. No. This tank is designed to be exactly what it appears to be, a pretty big separate tank entity that can go off in the same way that the rocket can go off and explore and transport transformers. So too can the tank. So the tank treads are not designed to go around this. That's not the plan at all. They're designed to go off and do their own exploring and fighting. The tank, these particular tracks are designed for the likes of Countdown and any of his compatriots and smaller Transformer figures that we can then use much more in scale with what we have here as a battle base. And indeed, we know this because Countdown fits in both the rocket and within the tank in their respective modes. So realistically, he is not, Omega's tank unit is not designed to be part of this assembly. It's much like Optimus Prime. Original Generation 1 Optimus Prime has 3 component parts: Roller, the trailer, and Optimus himself. The same is true, I think, of Omega Supreme here. So we're seeing 3 component parts that can be operated independently, but properly independently, in the same way that Roller can leave the trailer, so this segment can leave this segment. Am I overthinking it? Have I written an essay mentally about how to make this work so it fits my headcanon? Maybe that's happened, but I'm not asking you to judge me. I'm just asking you to give it some thought, because if otherwise we're ending up sort of bitching about the fact, and we are, and we've all done it, and I've certainly done it. The tank doesn't fit on the track. The tank doesn't fit on the track. It doesn't make any sense. Well, let's accept that. and go, well, maybe it's not supposed to. Maybe the reason it doesn't fit is because it's not supposed to. If it was supposed to fit, it would fit, but it doesn't. Therefore, it's not supposed to fit. Apologies, I know I'm getting a bit I'm shaking the camera, something shocking, because I'm getting passionate about my political views on Omega Supreme and his tank compatibility. I mean, again, I'm just going to give you that view of the rocket there. It is impressive, isn't it? I mean, the whole base is super impressive. And again, I think if we build in that tank conceptually as an additional element rather than totally integrated with the treads, which again, if you think about it, makes the tank a bit pointless. Because if all it can do is go round and round and round on these tank treads, well, why would you bother? So no, for me, this is an independent unit. This is a self-contained defense base, and the rocket is an escape option or an aerial assault option or a transport option, whatever you like. It's your toy, it's your mind, it's your imagination, you do what you like. But for me, I like to think that is how Omega Supreme's base mode functions. Would it be nice if the tank was compatible with the treads? I won't lie, yeah, I think it would be. I think that would be nice. Is it a deal breaker? Well, hopefully I've just explained as part of this why for me it isn't a deal breaker by any stretch of the. I'm trying to get an aerial shot for you so you get a real sense of it. It's not a deal breaker at all, because I can live with it being a separate entity to the overall base. Okay, I hope I've given you an adequate tour of Omega Supreme. If I've missed anything, or you have any views that are different to mine, which you're entitled to have because that's the crazy world we live in, then by all means do let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think he measures up as an adequate 21st century variant of the G1 toy? Do you have a preference? Do you have an alternative Omega Supreme that you think is far superior to this one? I'd love to hear what you think. We will return to him at some point when we look at some more Titans. So I just kind of want to leave you with that lingering look. And as promised, I don't very often do on-screen transformations, as you know. But this guy is, well, he's not that difficult to transform. It's very kind of old school, it's which is why I'm probably struggling ridiculously with doing it with one hand, which is a bit of a nuisance, so I do apologise. But what I will do is I will come back and do something separate with him rather than keep you in too much suspense. But he does basically just become a little radar truck, very little radar truck. And I can guarantee you that he definitely is compatible with the treads there. He can get around on these tracks just fine, and fits everywhere that the base has to offer, and of course also inside the tank. Do let me know if you found this little tour of the Omega Supreme defense base of use, of interest. If you were wondering whether or not to acquire the Earthrise variation of Omega Supreme, perhaps this has helped you make your mind up. Perhaps it's made you realise it's not for you. Perhaps it's made you go, yeah, I really need to get my hands on this. If it's been helpful in either of those ways, do please click on that thumbs up to let me know, and to signal that it was of some use and you found it interesting. Similarly, if you want to see more Titan class reviews, or indeed any toy reviews that are coming up in the future, or reflections on Robos gone past, possibly some of the Generation 1 stuff, possibly some other items that classify as robots, then again, why not subscribe to the channel? That would be amazing. And also, so you don't miss anything, turn on those notifications. I won't lie to you, it'll be a huge help to the channel, helping it grow. And share the word, share the love, share the joy. If you know anyone that is keen or interested in Transformers, by all means share the link to this video with them. Share it wherever you like. I encourage anyone and everyone to come and have a look. and join in and share the love of collecting toys. You know, I think it's easy to say that toys belong in our past. Well, actually, the toys helped shape our past, and I never had this one in my past, but it helped shape my imagination, and certainly inspired the creativity of those who came back to then produce this variation, of which I am very, very impressed. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. You've been an amazing audience, and I have been the time travelling toy collector. I look forward to seeing you again in a future video, and for the time being, I can say to Omega Supreme, particularly his tank section, which is no longer attached to the tracks, roll out.